up? My name is Dom. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, I typically make bookish content, movie content, and anything else in between because I like to do whatever I want on this channel, and tonight is going to be bookish content. It is 100 degrees Fahrenheit here today. I have the air conditioning blasting. I don't want to leave my apartment, but unfortunately I have to because I have a bocce game tonight. I paid $50 to be in the league, which is why I'm going and not skipping. And I have to leave for that in about 40 minutes. So in my 40-minute interval, that's hopefully like maybe 10 minutes when this is edited, we are going to be talking about the 6 books I read in the month of June. June was a very hectic month because I went on vacation, and then when I came home, it was just, I had a very hard time getting back into the swing of things, which is why I did not read as much as I typically have been reading these past few months, but whatever, 6 is still, I still consider 6 a lot. I don't physically own any of these books. 2 of them are manga, so I read them on Shonen Jump. One of them is an ebook, and then the other 3 were audiobooks, which is why I was able to get through 6 books in the first place. Without those audiobooks, girl. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. So the first book I read in the month of June was The Promised Neverland Volume 12 by Kaiju Shirai. This series is about a group of children who are all orphans, and they are being raised at Grace Field House by Isabella. They consider Isabella their mother. They're living this utopia until the 3 main characters, Emma, Norman, and Ray, discover life is not what it seems. Seeing how this is the 12th book of a series, I cannot give a full synopsis of the specific volume. I will say it's after the Goldie Pond arc, and we are beginning another arc. I was still coming off the high when I was reading this one, because a lot of people say the Goldie Pond arc is the best part of this manga, and so far I have to agree with that. It was so, there's just so much going into that it caused the next arc to just be okay for me, but I do still like what I'm reading, so I gave this 3.75 out of 5 stars. Next, I read a mystery thriller that I actually started in May, but because of Manga May, I was only reading it like once a week. In June, I got to pick up again, and that is The Crucifix Killer by Chris Carter. This is the Robert Hunter thriller series. Robert Hunter is a detective, a homicide detective in Los Angeles, and in this specific book, murders are happening, but they all have a mark on their body, and it's the mark of the Crucifix Killer, who they thought they put to jail a year prior, but he is now reviving his work. I thought this was such a great premise, and it had a very strong beginning, and I was loving this book for a while. For like the first half, first 3/4 maybe, if I want to be generous, I genuinely didn't know where this story was going. However, once things started to fall into place, that's actually when I started liking this less. Near like that last quarter of the novel, you find out certain clues that were introduced to us had nothing to do with the case, which I understand can happen in real life. It's just, it also just had nothing to do with the story. It was clearly trying to teach Robert Hunter a lesson, but like, but why? Why did he need this specific lesson and this specific story? It just didn't match up, and I was very confused about those things. And there's a certain point, and again, it's when these clues started to fall into place, that I guessed the murderer, and I remember saying to myself, oh, I hope it's not this person. 1, because I genuinely like the person, but 2, it's a trope I never liked, and then it ended up following that trope, so that did bring down my rating. I was about to give this book like a 4 out of 5 stars, and I ended up bringing it down to 3 out of 5. The reason this was never a 5 out of 5, even when I was enjoying myself, is because the writing style leaves much to be desired. This book is a lot of dialogue with very little narration, and the dialogue itself can be kind of clunky and melodramatic. It makes you feel like you're watching those corny crime shows from the past. Like, have you ever seen the original episodes of Law and Order and how over the top the dialogue was? That's how this book could be. And at times I didn't even feel like I was reading a novel, just because the writer was very much using the story as a way to show off his own psychology skills, because the character Robert Hunter went to school for psychology. I think he actually has his PhD. Clearly the writer must have some sort of background, either that or he did a lot of fucking research, because it is, assuming everything in this book is correct, it is very knowledgeable, but that also means there were times I felt like I was reading a psychology textbook more so than a novel. So because of all those things, I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. Then I read Saint by Sierra Simone. This is the 3rd book in the Priest trilogy series now, because I guess she's writing a 4th one. In the 1st book, we follow a priest, Father Tyler. In the 2nd book, we follow his brother Sean. In this book, we follow his brother Adrian, who has now become Brother Patrick. Is his name Adrian? I actually don't remember. It's either Adrian, Aaron, or Aiden. It's one of those names. Either way, we're gonna call him Brother Patrick, because that name I do remember. Brother Patrick went through a very traumatic experience, so he has decided to become a monk in order to deal with his issues, which is a big thing because he was an atheist at one point due to another traumatic event. But now he is second guessing himself because his ex-boyfriend Elijah enters his life once again. I have to say, I think, so first of all, Olivia Savannah over at Olivia's Catastrophe, she's the one who asked me to read these because she said if I read these books, she will watch Attack on Titan. She will watch the first season. Now I'm trying to get her to watch the second. So I decided to read these, and I've liked every book. Every book I've given at least 4 stars. This one I think is my favorite so far. One of the first things I noticed about this book when I finished reading it is that it's steamy. Sierra Simone writes a lot of steamy content. She writes erotica. So it has its steamy moments, obviously, but it has less than the first 2 books. And I think it's actually one of the reasons I liked it so much, because by having less steamy scenes, and they were very well written, I will say, but by having less of them, she was able to focus on the emotions more so. I liked Priest better than Sinner just because of how controversial it was. I live for the controversy. They were trying, I don't want to say trying, but there was some controversy in Sinner, just not what I was hoping for, not what Priest gave me. Whereas this one, yes, there's controversy because monks also cannot have sex. They need to remain celibate. But it was just also more wholesome than the other 2. When I say I went through an emotional roller coaster on this, because Brother Patrick starts out very sad in the beginning of the book. My heart hurt reading some of these descriptions. He gets what I wanted him to get by the end of the book, because obviously with books like this, you're gonna have a happy ending because it's a romance. And my heart filled with so much joy, just more so than the other 2. Not saying the other 2 characters didn't deserve love, they did. It's just Priest, I felt the romance in that one was a little rushed because he was willing to leave the clergy after 6 fucking weeks. And then in Sinner, I just thought the ending was really corny, and then also the age gap, I had to have like a suspension of disbelief for that one. But then when it comes to Priest, like, not only did they, I don't want to say wait, just because I can't say they waited, because at one point they did break up, but they had that gap. They had that gap to explore life and learn about themselves and learn that Elijah really was meant for Brother Patrick and vice versa. They had that, and I just also just don't feel like the ending was corny, so I think that's why it worked so well for me. And I actually cried at the end. I was tearing up, and I'm like, man, we love a good romance. I love a good happy ending, and I usually hate romance, but like, it hit me in the heart. Like, my heart hurt, but for different reasons than it did in the beginning. It hurt in a good way by the end. I also really like how all these books, including this one, focus on a main theme. So for example, Priest focused on Catholic guilt. Sinner focused on the anger people have towards religion, specifically the Catholic Church, because talk to any Catholic, a lot of Catholics are angry with the Catholic Church as an institution. And then this book focused on how trauma can bring people closer to God. Because I think that was another reason I like this book so much, because yes, all 3 brothers were brought closer to God in their own way, but I felt like Brother Patrick's relationship with God was much more personal. And Sierra Simone gave me something in this book that, again, the other 2 books didn't give me when it came to that. I guess in a way, I feel like God, Jesus, God, the Virgin Mary, just a bunch of people, a bunch of prominent Christian figures were more so personified, and that's what made this book feel more personal. And the descriptions, his descriptions for the love of Elijah, the descriptions for his love of God and how he's feeling, were absolutely beautiful, just beautiful pieces of writing. I would not expect in an erotica. I also like how mental health was handled in this book, as I was worried about how the Catholics would view him, but I do like that the church genuinely helped him. I shouldn't say it was the church that helped him, it was the people within the church. It was the brothers, the other monks he was super close with, because they talk about when he joined the church, he's like, the church is going to solve my problems, and the brothers were like, whoa. And it was the brothers who told him, hey, go to therapy. And just like with Priest, I like that this book it asks the question if one can be a minister to God, but also in a way where you don't have to be within the church, so that way you can have your own families. Because that's a constant debate within the Catholic Church right now. I know a few years ago there was talk of letting priests get married, same thing with nuns, just because it is a very lonely life. I think you do need to be a very specific type of person to go through with it and see it to the end of your days, because it's not uncommon either for people to leave the clergy or to leave the convent, whichever you join. I just think it's a valid question to ask, because there's rumors of, you know, Jesus being married and having his kids, and like, so why can't the people serving him do that? Like, if I'm working for the church, How come only like the congregants can have families? How come the literal employees of the church can't have their own? It looks like for the rest of my notes I already talked about these things and intermingled them with other points I have. So in conclusion, the reason I love this book so much is because of how tender and vulnerable it feels, and I like the discussions it brings up and how they discuss it, the beautiful descriptions, and just how wholesome and loving it felt. I gave this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. The fourth book I read is another manga, and that is Spy X Family Volume 13 by Tatsuya Endo. So in this series, we have Lloyd Forger, or Agent Twilight, who is a spy, and in order to perform Operation Strix, he needs to create a fake family. So he adopts Anya, marries Yor. However, Yor does not know that he is a spy. Lloyd doesn't know that she's an assassin. Neither of them know that Anya is a telepath, but Anya, being a telepath, knows everything about them. However, she is only 5 years old, so she doesn't understand the gravity of the situation, but she also doesn't want to be sent back to the orphanage, so she keeps her mouth shut. Comedy ensues. I can obviously not tell you what this one is about because we are deep into the series and I don't want to spoil anything. But I will say this was another fun volume. Yor's friends do not deserve her. However, the way she treats them, that's why she's a better person than me, because I would never. We got the introductions of 2 new characters that I really enjoy, and it ends at a cliffhanger. So I gave this volume 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read The Art of Keeping Cool by Janet Taylor Lyle. This book is about 2 boys living somewhere. The one boy moved from the Midwest to, I want to say, the East Coast, and now I can't remember. This book was not memorable. I'm just gonna say off the bat. But it's about 2 boys living in World War II America, trying to go through life. There's family secrets, like what's up with the dad, why does the kid act like this, what happened with the grandpa. Shit ensues. This book is essentially an exploration of things that we tend to not talk about. People tend to romanticize, you know, the good old days, the 1940s, the 1950s are included in this. And this book explores the things that families kept behind closed doors. You can argue the moral of this book is that life is not what it seems. There are 2 things I liked about this book. I liked seeing how the title of the story itself makes sense. I mean, not only because they quite literally say it in the first chapter, one of the boys tells the others, I'm going to teach you the art of keeping cool. But as the book goes on and more secrets are revealed, you understand the title in the sense that like you're looking at people trying to act normal as things are falling apart around them. So they're trying to keep cool in the world that's on fire. So I thought that was fun, and I also like the exploration of how kids process events, because these 2 boys go through like a massive amount. They watch guns being taken into the town. They see someone get killed in front of them. The not plot twist, but what ends up happening to the dad, that was a lot, because even my jaw was on the ground for that one. And it's explored in a way where, yes, they're very mature topics, but even as a 26-year-old, I can understand how these 12-year-old characters are processing it, if that makes sense. However, I thought the overall story was just okay, and I don't have more to add to that. Like, you ever just read a book and you're like, it is what it is? Because that's how I feel about this book. So I gave this 3 out of 5 stars, and at first, I thought maybe I'm just getting tired of World War II fiction because I've read so much of it. But then I read my next book, and apparently, no, I am not, because this is one of my favorite books of the year, and that is The Lost Wife by Allison Richmond. So in the prologue of this book, there is an old man and an old woman who come together at a wedding because their grandchildren are getting married to each other, and it turns out they actually recognize each other from their days in World War II, because it turns out they were husband and wife. This book is told in 2 point of views. We have Lenka's point of view and Yosef's point of view, and each point of view explores when they first met, what happened for them to be separated, and then their lives from there, bringing us back to the point of the prologue. And there are so many things I liked about this book. I actually liked the dual point of views just because I liked how they were done, because usually I'm always hesitant to read dual point of views like this just because you expect the chapters to kind of copy each other, but this one didn't do that. Lenka's point of view was told during World War II, whereas Yosef's point of view was told post-war, and I thought that was a great way to avoid the copying, so that way you're not reading the same thing twice, you're actually reading brand new information. But still, in their own way, both point of views were explorations of trauma and unrequited love and making do with their situations. I liked both point of views for different reasons. I like Lenka's just because Some of the information I knew because, again, I've read a lot of World War II fiction in the past and a lot of World War II nonfiction. However, I've never really read anything from a Czech person's point of view because both of them are from the Czech Republic. So through Lenka, I got to see the Czech side of things. And I believe the author actually included some real life people. One thing I really liked that she did, and I didn't know this until I was listening to the afterword, Lenka's friends with a woman named Dinah who was an artist. She took off her Star of David so she can go see a movie. And apparently, that's actually who Lenka was based on when writing the story. So I like that the author was able to include this real life inspiration as a fictional character within the story. And I liked Yosef's point of view just for like a multitude of reasons because there was a lot of emotions going on with those. For example, one thing I was actually impressed by was the discussion of his second wife. You expect in things like this, when person's married to, you know, spouse number 2, they don't actually love spouse number 2 because they spend so much time thinking about spouse number 1. Which, yes, post-war, Yosef does spend a lot of time thinking about Lenka, even as he's married to his second wife. But this was written in a way where Yosef showed that you can love someone while missing someone else. He actually really did love his second wife, just in his own way. It's not going to be in the way he loved Lenka, and especially because he thought he lost Lenka in such a traumatic way, but you know, he still loved his second wife. He loved her through all their trials and tribulations, and I thought that was so sweet. I was expecting negative inks, like inks I don't like to read, and I didn't get that, and for that, thank you. And I cried multiple times throughout his chapters. Men being in love, especially older men, it's my weakness. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I'm a straight woman and just want someone to love me like that too. But there's just something about like old men reminiscing on the life they had, and that makes me want to cry. In real life, when I listen to some of these old men talking about their dead wives, it's like, damn, I want someone to love me the way these men love their wives. And same thing with Yosef. We need people to love us the way Yosef loved Lenka, because it was absolutely beautiful. And again, the descriptions, beautiful, beautiful descriptions. There's just something so tender about his love and about the way he would talk to things. And it definitely didn't help, because this is one of my audiobooks, it did not help that the voice actor's voice would crack during certain sad scenes, and it's like, I don't know if I don't know if this is like acting or you're also sad because of the things you're reading, but it works so well. The voice cracking really got me, and it's the reason I cried sometimes. Definitely another book, like Saint too, definitely another book where my heart like actually hurt. And I'm not saying that to be, you know, to exaggerate and to be metaphorical. Like, there's actually a pain in my chest listening to some of these descriptions. And I think one of the reasons I like this book, despite not being a romance reader, was simply because how it was done. This book focuses on the what could have been and how what actually happened shaped them and shaped their futures and made them the people they are today, rather than focusing on the here and now. And I really like that, because you see these people, Yosef and Lenka at the end of the book are totally different than how they started, and yet they're still, the core of them is still there, and that love for each other is still there. And shout out to Lenka too. What I was saying about Yosef and how he still likes, you know, loves wife number 2 in his own way. She loved husband number 2 in her own way, and I liked how that was done as well. But they still thought of each other, and it was just, there's just something so beautiful about that when people, they use their experiences to just I don't want to say fix themselves, but to better themselves and to move forward. Character development, we love that, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I also did really like the epilogue for this book. The ending lets you stew a bit. You kind of have to sit there with your emotions and make your own conclusions about what happens next. But I actually really liked that. At the end of the book, and I literally had to sit there at work like, wow, and then I had to think about it, and all their experiences were running through my head, and then I was crying again. It was just, I did not expect to love this book as much as I did. I really enjoyed it, and I really do recommend it. I ended up giving this 5 out of 5 stars. So that's it. This actually took me less than 40 minutes to film. It only took me 30 because I kept tripping over my words. Talking is very hard when it's hot outside, hard outside. You hear me? When it's hot outside, and I have to go, and like, I'm not excited to go. But let me know down below if you've read any of these books and what your thoughts are. If you want to read any of them, what you guys have read in the month of June. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up, comment, subscribe. Y'all know the drill. Without further ado, I'm gonna peace out and I'll see you guys later. Ciao, tutti.